Hello fellow heroes of the blue and welcome to another Royal Retinue review. Get comfortable because we have a long one. We have 11 entries this month, so this is going to be very exciting. And we have about 11 people watching, so I'm guessing those are my lovely patrons and channel members who submitted some entries. First of all, what is the Royal Retinue review, you might ask? Well, this is the time of month where I like to dedicate some time to thank my Patreon and channel members for all the amazing things that they let me do. It's a way to give them something back because I don't have many good rewards for them, and this is the only thing that I really do, and I like to make it well, and I like to take my time. So if you want your minis reviewed here, you have to be a patron or channel member, many times level or above, and once a month you can submit one mini, unit, monster, diorama, whatever you want. They will review it and give it a couple hints on what you can do better to improve your painting, hopefully. If you cannot give this is the time of the live stream where I like to point out that if you don't want to become a patron, or you can't afford it, or whatever reason, I won't judge you. You can go back to the PMP review group on Facebook, but sadly Vince Venturella is stepping down from that. There won't be unless someone gets that torch, there will be no more PMP reviews, but you can still join the amazing group, the PMP, the Painters Motivating Painters group on Facebook. And I'm guessing if you ask for feedback and you tag Vince, I'm sure he will give you some pointers, but there won't be any more video reviews of minis, sadly. So if you want to take part on one, this will be your chance. If you submit in here, it's not very much and it helps me a lot. So, and usually people are very happy with my review, so watch this one and decide if you want. Yes, we have a lot of submissions, but let me first, as I always do, explain what's coming up in the channel. Next week, hopefully, we have Giant Tsar here looking pretty awesome. I'm really happy about this. We also have the first entry on the Spirit Seer Golden Demon project coming up. It's taking way too much time, more than I was expecting, but I think it's going to come up by next week, so it's going to be quite jam-packed. And I also planning a video on the two videos for the 50k celebrations, and one is behind the scenes, and the other one is the other channel reviews, other channel small channel reviews, or giving them some love, putting them on the spotlight that they think they deserve. So those two videos, looking up smaller content creators for my 50k celebration, and I behind the scenes on how I make videos. All of those are coming, so yeah, sorry it hasn't been a video in this week, but I'm literally doing 5 videos at the same time. So and that combined with the holidays, I just couldn't release a video, but it's coming. Okay, let's jump into the review, shall we? Let me put this where it should be. Okay, yeah. Well, oh no, this is the second one, sorry. We are starting with Amin. I think that's how it's pronounced. Always please note that I cannot read your messages while I'm doing this, so leave your questions or comments on the chat, and at the end of the review I will go through them, because I cannot do it because I don't have 2 monitors, because I don't have either the space or the money to afford it. So right now we're going to do I'm going to do this. I think he told me his name is pronounced Amin. I hope that is right, and if it isn't, I'm really sorry. But he has submitted. Sorry. He has submitted a very lovely Skaven rat. Really nice, with a lot of details and a lot of personality. I really like it. I really like the details, especially the whiskers painted on the nose here. That's a very cool detail. I like the weathering on the copper armor. That's also really cool. And overall, I think it's a very good piece. And if you want to improve it, I think just taking away the obvious of thinner edge highlights, more precision, more brush control, all that stuff. I think this piece works very well, but I think it can work better if you take advantage of these glowing mushrooms here, and you add a bit of glowing to the mini. So we are going to do just that, so you can see it. So I will probably glaze some of the I will probably glaze some of the green onto this. Oops. There you go. There should be now. I will glaze some of that green. It's doing this. Oh, okay. There you go. Now it's working fine. I will glaze some of this green onto the armor here. Just like this, just like this, just like this. Same here on the lower side of the gauntlet. I'm guessing this might be something like mood green. You can use mood green for this. I think it will work pretty well. And it could be a good exercise to practice something different and something cool too. Something like this. I think that simple OSL effect does quite a lot, adds a bit, it's super easy to do, and will add a ton of character onto this little guy. And while you're doing this, I will probably highlight the green a bit more too. Especially towards the top here, the symbol, for example. Just smooth it out. Glaze it with a lighter green, same here. You can probably highlight this a bit more. It's the only color that I feel it's a bit forgotten on the overall highlighting thing. And you can take something like this green, probably a mix of mood green and dawn yellow. Or I think Vallejo makes, it's a yellow green, I think. It's a very good color. And you can use it to make the final highlight here. Something like this. There you go. There you go. I think adding a bit more green will help this quite a lot. It's a very simple effect, but I think you should give it a try and do something different. But if you do, also remember you have also to do it on the ground here. So you probably want to glaze some of this green towards the mushrooms and make it stronger here and here. And you will probably want to do something like this, lighter green, maybe, oops, on the recesses of those mushrooms so they look like they are glowing very brightly. There you go. Something like this. I think that is what I would take this. Probably something that you've never done. Probably something that will help you quite a lot in developing your skills. Remember that light on the armor, like here, should be very strong and very small, and on things like pieces of cloth you can go much softer and bigger with that glow. Something like here. Softer and wider on the cloth, and smaller and stronger on the armor. So I really hope that was useful. Again, I like this a lot, and I wanted to give you some pointers that are not just like the obvious, like practice edge highlighting more, or do more highlights, stuff like that, which you already know. But I think this will take this mini to the next level, and I think it's worth giving it a try. So I thought that was useful for you, Amin, and I will see you in the Discord server. And I'm really looking forward to, because I know you are in the chat, I'm looking forward to reading your comments here. Do now. Sorry about that. I might do now. Oh, I thought it would comment something. Okay, no issues. Let's move into the next submission, shall we? Okay, so the next one is Anton, and Anton has been submitting to the review for, I think this is the third month. In the first one, I gave him some feedback, and he has 100% taken it, and you can see that the musculature here on his ogre is absolutely perfectly rendered. He has highlighted all the muscles where they should be. Looks much more natural, looks much more realistic, and I know that this is a messed up sculpt. There is a lot of problems with it. You can see the pitted surface, missing chunks of metal everywhere. This is a mess, and he has managed to pull out something pretty special here. The muscles are just right. I can't say anything about those. They look amazing. You have really done a fantastic job. You may be missing out a couple of highlights here. You can take this highlight up to there on the inside of the arm, and you can take it up to here, so more up to the edge of the musculature. As you can see, very subtle, but still one step extra on your journey. And I also like to highlight, do something a bit smaller, just the nose as it meets the brow area. Just one highlight there. Let's take it to the next level there. Very subtle. This is just, we are now focusing on very subtle stuff. Maybe highlight the underside of the cat there, and same for the nose right there. But yeah, on the for the rest of the mini, you've done a fantastic job on the skin. Really good job. You're doing fantastically. I'm really happy that you have taken all my advice and taken that for your painting. But there are a couple of things that I think can be better, and especially on the red armor. For example, here you haven't painted a dark line around the rivets, which I think is very important, and around the cats, to define them better so they can be seen more and have more readability. Helps quite a lot. Same here on some recesses. You can take that same super dark black color, red color that you have here, of dark brown, and use that to make all these recess shades. That will help a lot in the readability, as I said. And you can also take this same dark brown color, take it here, and you can, I think this mini in particular is like the perfect candidate to do some chipping. So I think we are going to do just that. So you need to be careful with this. So I will do something like this, paint it dark first. Some scratches. I was going to say that Darren Latham made a fantastic video on chipping, but yeah, that video is no more, sadly, but it was a fantastic video. And once you have that dark chips, you can take this orange color that you used to highlight, and you can put it on the underside of the chips. That's one method. Here, another one. Or you can do the opposite way, which I think it's easier. And you can, I'm going to do it here on this shield here. You can take the highlight color and do some chips with that. There you go. And then you take this brown dark color and you paint it on the inside of the chips. Like this. Very carefully. This one is easier to do, so you may want to give it a try. And I think for this mini in particular, that's what I would do personally, because I think it's the perfect candidate. It should be, the armor should be looking battered and broken and chipped. And I think if you do this, adding there is a shade on the red armor and adding the chips, I think it's going to look absolutely amazing. But again, fantastic job incorporating all the feedback that I gave you in the 2 past reviews. You should be very proud of your progress, and I hopefully will catch you in the next review with an even better piece. So that was fantastic. Thank you, Anton. Let's move into the third one, and this is Tim. And Tim has come with a speed painting project, and I hate him because I wish I could do this, especially speed painting. This is insane. The NMM is absolutely stunning because yes, this is an NMM, believe it or not. I think he's been watching all of Richard Gray's videos because I suggested them, and he's just painting NMM that well. Just what else can I say? This is absolutely amazing. Absolutely stunning, guys. Incredible. So yeah, I have little to say about the NMM. I have very little to say overall because this is absolutely incredible as a spin painting project. But a couple of things that I do want to point out. So, for example, on the NMM here, he's gone with a very strong reflection here and a very strong reflection here, which works. But here on the crevice, it should have some light because this piece here should be reflecting the light that is on here. So this should have a kind of a highlight there. Let me put this still opaque. We should have a highlight there, and we should have this smaller, and we also should have some reflections from the candelabra here onto the main piece of the helmet of the horse, like this and like this, because that is also reflecting light and catching it. So something like this. Maybe like that. There you go. And I know the NMM was good to begin with, but I think those kind of things kind of help conveying the reflective nature of the armor. Yeah, I think I like that. And on top of that, you can maybe add some of the green hues you used here onto some bits of the NMM. need to make this bigger now. Maybe add a bit of the green there, so it helps kind of again conveying that reflectiveness. Same goes for doing some highlights on the inside edges here. Oops, sorry about that. There should be a highlight there because it's reflecting that reflective edge. Is reflecting a reflection essentially. There you go. Yeah, and I think I will add some green here, for example, kind of simulating the hand being reflected against the armor of the horse. Same here, adding a bit of the green. I think it helps create that illusion of shining metal. There you go. Look at that. I think that looks pretty good, especially with the green added. And I think you should give it a try to boost this from a fantastic job onto an incredible NMM. And I think you are going to be one of those people to look for when you keep painting like this, because it's absolutely stunning. This NMM is just perfect. Another thing that I'm not sure if I like is this flames here. I think you have gone with white. Let me see. I think you have to put a bit more white into the bottom part, so it really looks more like fire. You have to be like pure white in there. Maybe it's because of the picture, of course, it can be. And I think I would go a bit darker onto the top sections there. Maybe something more of a orange. Maybe. Let's see if it works. Oh, another time. Okay. I know what the issue is. There you go. Shouldn't happen again. And I may go into something more orange on the top here. Something more pure. There you go. I will probably build it up like that. There you go. Yeah, I'm liking this quite a bit more now. Looks more flamey, looks more reflective. And now you can, of course, if you're doing this, you also have to incorporate the same yellows. And let me check that out. This yellow here. There you go. You have to incorporate this into the NMM, because if you have an armor here and have a fire on top of it, it should be reflecting that same fire. So adding a bit of this yellow flame reflection on there. Something like this, and same here. There probably should be some kind of orange around this area and around this area as well, and maybe some yellow here. There you go, like that, something like that. I think that I hope you can see what I'm talking about when we're talking about that fire, because the metal looks pretty good, but the fire looks off. And I think it's a combination of not enough contrast into the hottest part of the fire onto the coldest part, and also not being reflected on the other parts of the mini, which if you add some reflections, I think it looks better. And again, add more tones into your NMM and your ambient surrounding colors there. It's going to help a lot, and I think you can obviously do it, so go for it. Not going to comment on the rest, which is pretty simple airbrush plus some highlights here and there. That's simple enough. It's good enough. Does the job because the NMM is bringing everything up to like higher standard just by being there and being so well executed. So really pleasure to review this team. I don't know if you are in the chat, but if you are, thank you for your submission, and if you're not, I really hope when you see this that you like it. So let's move into the next entry. This is Antonio submitting his white templars, which I think look pretty good. That's a fantastic scheme. Red and bone is one of my favorite color schemes. Especially I like them for Space Marines. I think they look really well together. That with some black accents, it's fantastic. And he's looking for reviews here. And I think the main thing I'm going to tell you is you need to be more aggressive with your highlights, especially on the red. So you should take something like bright orange, so something like Fire Dragon Bright probably, or a lighter orange, basically a light orange, and just do some edge highlights here. Let me put this into harder mode so we can do some edge highlights and I can show them properly. So you can do more highlights with a lighter orange. Maybe they are washed out because of the picture, which is not the light is not very good. I'm guessing you used probably one of those light boxes, which I really don't like. They don't make good pictures in my opinion, but to each their own. And you can move into something like Lucaneth Orange for the final highlights and increase the contrast even more. But again, it's very hard to judge. But I think I'm sure you didn't went high enough with your highlights on the red. So I'm going to suggest you do that. You can go brighter here as well. And I also going to suggest you add some weathering into your transfers. I think these are transfers. Maybe they are painted over, but you need to add some shadows into them, I think. So if this is red, I will take something just to go with the bone color, something like Agrax Earthshade. It would be, I don't know, something like this probably. You're going to turn the opacity down. And you want to glaze that kind of brown wash onto the lower sections. Oh, that's too big. Onto the lower sections of the decal, just like that, to darken it down, so it's just not like a flat white decal on top of everything. And then you can take pure white and you can do the final touches on there. Okay. So something like picking up like the top edges of the cross here, something like that. I think that will help quite a lot to integrate everything here. I think if it's painted on, which might be the case, it's hard to judge. Just add shading on top of the freehand. It's going to look awesome. And another thing you can do is add some chipping into the cross, so like it's chipped away some paint due to battle damage and so on. So you can add like the paint has flaked off, just like that. You have to be careful with this because they are not orcs, but I think that kind of thing helps quite a lot. And on top of that, just adding more contrast overall if you want to take this to another level. Maybe not for the units, but maybe for the characters. You can also add a bit of oh, I just realized that this piece of cloth here is white against the white armor. I think you can go, if you're doing white templars, I think that can be black, probably. Probably. Let me see if we can do something about that. Maybe. I'm not sure if I like that better, but I think the bone color armor and the bone color cloth kind of need a bit more separation. So either you do this or you do like a brown monk kind of cloth. I think that can work pretty well, but I kind of like the black. I don't mind the black at all. Especially if you add a cross here. Take this kind of color, something like this. You can add a cross painted here. If you have decals, use decals. If don't, just use like crosses are pretty easy to do freehand, so it's not that much of a deal. There you go. And this should be probably like this because it has a curve there, and we can take the darker shade and shade this down, especially around the crevice and so on, and take the white and do some highlights here and there. There you go. I think I quite like that more, kind of adds more separation into the overall look of the mini. So yeah, that's my advice, as well as again just going higher into the highlights on the reds and probably on the black as well, but that's a matter of taste for the leaders, if you want, for the characters maybe. But overall, fantastically good color scheme. I really like it. Two of my that's probably one of my favorite color combinations, so well done choosing them. I think they look pretty awesome. I think they look better than Black Templars. So, good job, Antonio. It's a pleasure to have you here. First submission for Antonio, by the way. And we have here Paul, which I think is also the first submission. I might be wrong. And he's submitting another Bloodborne ogre, this time a modern one. And he is looking pretty nice. He has a very nice transitions on the skin, very nice skin tones, very nice blue on the armor and the pants. And he's asking that he's not sure about the skin, if he should add a bit more tones. What I think you should add is what I'm missing probably is a bit more, probably a bit more definition onto the shadow. The shadows are pretty dark, but somehow in places like the lip here, they kind of don't go dark enough. So let me demonstrate that. I'm going to take something like Rhinox hide here and just running a line of this on there. You will see how much that does into readability, basically, because everything is very soft, and sometimes you need harsh lines to define everything. Not like the heavy metal team does on the faces. That doesn't look good. That's maybe too much. But a little bit of harsh lines help quite a lot with reading what you're doing from this to this. You see, I think that's what you are probably missing, and you can probably go a bit lighter onto the highlights. I would love to see this mini on person, because I'm not sure if this is really a problem of not enough highlights or just not the greatest picture. How's this? Yeah, I need to make this softer. I need to put this down. Okay, so I think sorry, I think you can go lighter onto the highlights, especially on the forehead here, on the nose, on the cheeks, all around the face, really. That's kind of one of the main drawing points. You want to attract attention into his face, and I think you can go way harder onto the highlights. Just something like this. So placing them on the top parts of each volume. It's the same advice I gave Anton onto the first video. You can probably skip the rest of the body, maybe some around where the face is. So some around here on the bone colors, on the, you know, on the bones, on the I don't know the name in English, sorry, something like this. And you can even go brighter than this. You can even go up to almost pure white, something like off-white or Vallejo ivory. And if you have to be very careful with this. But something like this. And I will try to add some kind of directional light, because kind of this piece kind of asks for it. It's highlighted in a very nice way, and I think adding a bit more directional highlights, so more highlights on this side of the face than this one, like if you have some light coming from this side, kind of helps with it. You can see the difference between this and this, adding a bit more definition, being a bit more dramatic with the highlights. I think it can improve that, and I will go for a pinker nipples. Thus, I'm a pinkish nipple kind of guy. So we can just add a bit of this pinkish hue here. But overall, I really like this. Another thing you can try, because I think you have enough skill to do this, is this is a bit more advanced, but you have to take a very sharp brush. You take something like, you know, this very dark brown, the same very dark brown that you used, and we can add some chest hair here, or here on the belly. Oops, this is not reading at all. Let me 100%. Oh, this is too small. Okay, I think this should be it. You need to something like this. Yeah, probably something like this. You will probably want to look at pictures of chest hair, which is going to be very weird on your Google algorithm. It's going to suggest you some weird stuff for a while. But if you add some chest hair and some belly hair here, I think it's going to look pretty awesome. You can see amazing examples of this if you look for people like Magma's Clans, which has done this a lot. Just adding some random lines here and there. I think they can improve the look of this ogre quite a bit. Look at that. I'm really happy with that. The rest looks fantastic. You are really talented, and I think you can pull all of this off. And this will probably help you, especially with the highlights, on breaking that contrast barrier that I always talk about. Usually people are afraid of pushing the contrast to limits, to the good limits, because they are afraid that they are going to mess it up, that it's not going to look good. And I think it looks good like this. So from here to here. That's all my main advices there. Give it a try if you want, maybe for the next mini, maybe for this one, whatever you feel like it. And if you do, show me some pictures, because I really want to see this. So thank you, Paul, for your submission. Let's move into the sixth one. This will be Carlos. Oh, I want to add one more suggestion, the same that I did for Anton. If you take this blue color here, you can add some chips onto the white stripe. I don't know if it's raised or not, but if it's free-handed, I think this helps quite a lot, especially for ogres and stuff like that. But you do you, whatever you feel like it. Thank you for your submission. Let's move into Carlos, and Carlos has been in the review since day one, and his improvements have been massive. He also came here to do a masterclass with me, which I really appreciate him doing it. And if you want to take part in the masterclass, just write me an email, and we will have a very good time. Probably, I always try people have a good time. And he has improved massively from the first mini. I remember it was a Tau Crisis suit, and he's moving through this quite awfully casted this Game of Thrones minis, and he's adding tones everywhere. He's adding some pale green to highlight the black, along with some blues, as you can see here. So making a lot of different tones of blacks and grays, which I think work very well. He's concentrating to work on his faces, which this one has an awful sculpt. He said that one of the eyes weren't even sculpted. You can see this one was, but I think you missed. This is the lower eyelid, believe it or not, right there. And I think the eye should be something like this. If you want to make it look at that side, that should be the eye. So much smaller than what you are painting right now. I know this is very hard. this is really hard to do, especially for this kind of miniatures, which aren't very well sculpted at all. I'm going to paint the inside here, and the nose here needs a bit more definition. And once you've done this, you can paint the eye smaller on this side as well, and just paint the other eye looking like that, something like this. But yeah, pretty much a good job. And as I said before, you can go higher than this for the highlights, especially on this side, which I think is your intention, to make this side brighter. You can pretty much go up to there with ease, and you can add a bit more redness. I'm going to turn the opacity down quite a lot. I'm going to do some glazing here, there and there, maybe a bit on the nose there, something like that. Something like that. This face is not easy to paint, but you did a good job for the face that was there. But yeah, you can also bring some more highlights again into the shirt here. You can probably add a bit, both yellow and white, something like this. And we can add some more highlights onto the top part here. But all in all, I see your improvements. You still need to work on cleanliness. I know these minis are a pain in the ass. I know this just for an army, so I'm not going to complain too much. But you already know what you need to improve. But overall, I see way less mistakes. Still are some of them, because I know you're impatient. Like there, a bit of brown was there. etc, etc. But again, fantastically good job, and I really like this chap quite a lot. So maybe let's add some more highlights onto the brown, which I think the browns are the thing that needs a bit more work. Maybe let me do something more fleshy. I may sound like I'm improvising, that's because I am. I don't look at these pictures before the review because I think it's more spontaneous. I work better that way. We can take something like a flesh tone. Oops, this needs to be harder. There you go. And do some final highlight on the leather. Just like that. Just like that. I would use something for this brown here. I would probably use again flesh tones, and you can add some weathering as well if you feel like it. Leather is good candidate for just going nuts with it. Something like that. It would probably go even lighter just here. Just there. And you can probably clean up this a little bit better, which is again a bit messy. You have an edge highlight here is going all around everywhere, so maybe take this dark contrast and just make sure that everything is well defined. And I will go for a yellowy ochre here for those highlights. So something like this probably. I need to go lighter than this. Sandy color here. And maybe keep on doing this edge highlights neatly. You know, practice, practice, practice. All of that. There you go. But all in all, fantastically good improvement from the first submission and from the last submission as well. And I'm really happy each time I see you post something. Just keep on painting, keep on submitting, and I'll see you next month. Let's move into the 7th. This is Andy B. And Andy, I had to make some corrections into your photo because it came like this. And yeah, that's way too blue. You have some issues with your white balance on your minis, on your setup, whatever it is. The white balance is not correct. It's way too blue. And a simple correction, we can see that how it should look. I think it should look like this. So check that out. It was also way too dark, so it was like this actually. And I added a bit more light and added a bit and took out that blue completely. And here's submitting a really lovely looking orc. This looks to be contrast paints with highlights. And I really like it. The purple is stunning. The purple armor is really good actually. The orc green hue is fantastic. I really like it as well. I'm going to talk about the musculature here again, because you have the same issues that Anton had at the beginning. Also first submission for Andy B, if I'm not mistaken. And on the NMM, there is a lot of work to do if you want this to be look like metal. But it's great that you're trying, so I'm really proud of that. But the first, I'm not going to talk about the purple armor. I think it looks fantastic. Looks really, really, really good. But his face looks really good as well. But I think we can see an issue here on the muscles of the orc. So I'm going to take this color here, and what you've done is place your highlights in the middle of the muscle here, 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 like on the most raised part of the muscle. But you don't want to do that. You want to put it on the top section because light comes from the top, and your highlight on the muscle should be here. This should be the point of maximum highlight. Like that. Oops, Sorry, I'm moving my camera while I'm doing this. Same for this muscle here. I'm going to take the dark color and I'm going to fix this. I'm going to take the light color, and your highlight should be, your highlight, oops, I need to make this lighter. Come on. There you go. Your highlight should be here at the very top of the muscle. Same for here. And for all the other muscles as well. So here, for example, here at the top, here, etc., etc. So we have to move into this sort of areas for our highlights on our musculature, because that looks more realistic. And we are very good as humans identifying the parts that are not good. I just realized I painted over the main picture, so we're not going to be able to see the total improvement. Well, maybe, yes, this is the original one, and this is with the other highlights. Sorry about that. I'm a bit of a mess here. I want to talk, by the way, nice texture on his pants and on the leather belt. I do want to talk about the NMM. The chainmail is actually really good. Looks fantastic. That's as good as, maybe not as good as you can paint NMM chainmail, but it's pretty good. It's as good as I can paint chainmail NMM, so fantastically good job there. As for the other elements, if you want them to be shiny metallic, I think you need to go much more aggressive with your highlights. So instead of just doing edge highlights, you need to start painting gradients here. So you want to do something like this, like a big band of light here. Something like that. There you go. And we can even go darker than this. We can go up to almost pure white, pure black here. Shade down there, and down here, something like this. And we can take this light color again and do maybe some lines, vertical lines down there, something like that. I'm doing it again, come on. What an idiot. And same for this band, for this one here. You want to paint gradients. Watch the mini that I think it was Tim painted, the undead, and you will see what I'm talking about when I see that you need to be very bold. You want extremely high blended highlights, something like this. Look at this, look at the difference it makes just making that highlight. Like Windows keys. Oh god. Same goes for the weapon here. You probably want that band of light to be down here, and you can do another one, very small highlight, probably softer on the inside there. If you want it's like a super shiny maze, just like that. I'm really happy with that. So same here, there would be a highlight here and a smaller highlight there. There you go. That's the way to convey reflectiveness. And as I said to Tim, you can add some greens in there. So you can, especially here where the hand meets, you can tint this lower highlight green, just like that. Maybe go a bit further up the highlight colors. There you go. I think that looks pretty nice. And you can take this lovely purple and you can introduce it around the maze here, especially here, probably here as well. Taking the highlight color as well and placing it there, something like that. And you see, it really makes a big difference, all those changes. And that's the kind of thing you need or want to do when you want to convey reflectiveness. something like darker purple there. There you go. Something like that. And same for all these planes. You can add purples into the, if you can find a nice purple here. There you go, that's nice purple. In this facet that is facing downwards, it's facing towards the armor. So you probably want to add purpley colors here. Adding a bit of highlight there. Something like that. Same for these bits here. And you can keep on adding those super sharp white reflections, of course. Same for the weapon here. You want to add more highlights on one side. You know, it's just creating way more contrast on the NMM. Something like this. Then you can take this lighter color. Come on. And add a reflection here on these pyramids around the border down there. Something like that. As you can see, the difference is quite massive. And I think it looks pretty good. So those 2 pointers work on where you place your highlights on your muscles, and learn how to be bolder with the NMM. You want big strips of highlight and a super quick transition into very deep shadows. And you can add, again, as I said, this ambient reflections, which work pretty well, and to convey that effect. So I really hope that was useful for you, and we'll move into the next one, which is Marcus. But again, as I said before, I want to point out that you are doing good textures, and I love the purple, so great job. Let's going to move into Marcus, and Marcus has submitted a very lovely elf underworlds warband here, and I love the color choices. It's red and bone with yellow and blue. It's just perfect. And they are elves, which means they are better than everything else. And one thing I want to point out is the bases are amazing. Those bases are just perfect. I love them. Well done, Marcus, on those bases. I will need you tell me how you did them on the Discord chat, so please send me the recipe, because I want to use them on some pieces that I have in mind for those amazing bases. But they do look like probably pigments. Yeah, pigments over some dry brush rocks. It looks pretty simple, but it looks amazing as well. Let's move into reviewing here. Lovely face painting. I really like that. The owl is also awesome. I think, let me check everything out. The gems are pretty good. I think you can work on your faces a little bit, on the skin tones. So you went up to this color. I think you can go much lighter, especially for elves. We can move into something like this for the highlights on the faces. Let me just check. Everything should be all right. And again, put those highlights onto the right places, and it's going to look awesome. Also, you've painted her eyes blues, which doesn't really read well. You can do that if you want, but I think it reads better if you just paint them black. Or if you want to use blue, paint them a dark blue. Otherwise, it's going to look off. There you go. So you add in a bit more highlights onto the right places of the face It's going to help quite a lot. Let me check out the opacity a little bit. You may want this being a female to maybe soften everything up a bit. This probably to be a bit larger. There you go, something like that. But yeah, you can go. Oh, that looks awful. I'm going to delete. There you go. Something like that. You can go much brighter onto the highlights. You can almost reach pure white, especially if you target it well. Let me just. There you go. Something like this and like this. On the tip of the nose and something like this, and you can add you have all your skin tones are very flat. You don't have any hues, you don't have color in them. You want to add color into your faces, so we want to go into a kind of pinkish territory, probably something like volupus pink. You can use Carbo Crimson, it also works very well, this kind of burgundy colors. And you have to thin this down into a very thin glaze. And you want to add this glaze onto the cheeks. You want to add a bit onto the nose. I want to make this smaller now. There you go, onto the nose, onto the cheeks. Like that, and then you can go back and re-highlight this with your highlight color so you don't lose any contrast. I need to up the opacity a little bit now and turn this down smaller, something like this. There you go, on the point, and there you go. And you can probably see the change on the face from very flat, not really alive, to something richer, with pinks and with all of that. And as I said, I would take this dark blue. If you want to paint blue on the eyes, I would take a darker blue than this. The very bright blue doesn't read well. Also, when you see a person with blue eyes from a very long distance, it doesn't really look blue. They probably look more black, because the pupil itself, it's taking almost all of the space, so you probably want something small. There you go. I think we can paint those eyes a darker shade of blue, which will read better. Yeah, I think it does read better. And if you want to just, you know, brag about a bit, you can try and paint the reflection of pure white inside of the dark blue, something like that. So yeah, I kind of like that. The rest looks good. You can probably go higher on the highlights on the red. I'm going to concentrate on this girl here because I think we're doing a fantastic job, and I think we should keep on going. So you went up to this kind of red, which looks like probably Wastaka red, something like that. And you can, I will probably go up to something like this, like squeak orange, for some final highlights. Oops, this is way too big, way too big. There you go. Something like this. Very subtle difference, but still noticeable. And you can add a bit more and move this up a teeny tiny notch on the top sections here, just like that. And you can see what kind of difference it makes. I think it makes a big difference. But again, try to go, don't be afraid of pushing the contrast on the face. Go much brighter, add those hues, and probably add a couple more highlights onto the red. The yellow looks good. It's intense and nice as it should be. It reads really well. But I think the red needs just the final highlight. But all in all, really good job on a really beautiful warband that you have here. You should be very, very proud. And again, I want the recipe for those amazing bases. I don't know if you did. Let me just. I can't see it. I can see one side. I think you did the TMM pattern on this also. I'm not going to say anything like that. Well done. Good job. Nice looking warband. I like it. Let's move into the next set of minis, which comes from Charles. And Charles is making a pretty stunning looking chaos dude. And this chaos dude is painted using contrast plus highlights, so it's basically kind of a copy of what I did on the chaos warrior video, and it's a fantastically good copy. He added some different elements because this is a different guy. This stunning looking green scale cloak, the red is perfect, the black armor is perfect. I don't know if you added the brown, but you should add the brown. Let's add the brown there. Let's take something like Rhinox hide and add it into the crevices. If you did, I'm sorry, I just cannot see it really. Oops, this is not what I want. You want to add the brown to be a bit more noticeable, and you can add it onto basically everything here. There, around there. And again, if you did add this, I'm sorry, Charles, but I think I kind of feel it's missing. So there, the rivets here, inside there. This brown helps break the black so well. It also contrasts very well with the gold highlights. So something like that, along those lines. Just as a wash, it's super easy. You're going to be able to do this perfectly well. No issues whatsoever for you. Shouldn't be, at least. Let me see if I can see something else to point out, because it's very hard sometimes. No, I really like the cloak. I really like the sword. You can probably work the gold a bit more. I feel like the gold needs a bit more contrast. Sometimes happens with contrast paints that you cannot, you kind of need to force it by hand. I will take something like Cygor Brown and do some final shading here, just to make everything. And I know I am nitpicking because I need to say something. Okay, there you go. Add a bit more definition. Run this in places like the eyes of the skull, around the skull, so we can read it better. Like that. Same here, you can see the skull is not well defined, so if you run a line of this, very thin line of this, all around those details, we're going to be able to define everything better. And it's going to read better. You obviously don't need more highlights. The highlights go as far as they need to go. I will probably, you know what I would do is, instead of doing this highlight kind of, I would probably have done a kind of this wood grain effect. I think it looks, you can go even lighter than this on this plane here, just like that. But all in all, there's very little I can say about this apart from that it looks amazing. Yeah, it looks as good as mine basically. So fantastically good job. The red cloak was also beautiful, nothing there to say. The boots look great, the leather, the armor looks great, everything looks fantastic. So great job there, Charles. You're making this very hard for me, and I don't like that, but I like you. So thank you for your submission and this beautiful mini. By the way, I've told you this on the Discord server, but this greenish skin tone on the monster, I think it's fantastic. It's really good. If you want to know, people watching it, I think he started with Terradon turquoise and then cyber red green for the highlights, and then he started mixing Kislev flesh first and then white, if I know, or Screaming Skull for the final highlights on the fleshy bits. Fantastic job. Really, really nice. Oh, let's just do something else. Okay, so I'm going back into this brown. I just noted that you may want to do something here. And you can try to glaze some darker hues on the top of the horns. I kind of liking that more. Kind of feels more realistic to me. So I'm going to point that out too. Doesn't feel like I'm not giving enough feedback. So you can take some dark brown and glaze it towards the top here. Super hard to do this with, and same here. Or maybe not that one, maybe just the other horn. Let me just see, go back enough. There you go. I'm going to a smaller brush and going back to pure black now. And you do the same with pure black onto the top. And then you take the highlight color very thin. And you do one highlight like that. I kind of like it more, kind of breaks a bit more, makes this and this bone different, kind of makes it more realistic. I like it. So take it that if you want. And again, thank you for your submission. Let's move into number 10. Oh, sorry, we've been here for quite a while. And this takes a bit of effort, especially mentally. We have here with Chelsea, and she has painted a unit of poxwalkers, and then this is for an army, so it's a speed painting project. Is her first foray into contrast paint, funny enough, and she's kind of liking it, and I see why. The only thing I would probably change is adding more highlights, really. The rest looks good, especially for such a large unit, because I know poxwalkers tend to be massive. The skin tone has enough variety. All the postures are painted in a different color. You kind of need to be cleaner at some points, like here, so kind of be a bit careful there. You should just paint these metallic details afterwards. Not, I kind of feel like you painted the metallic details and then you painted the pants. You should do it the other way around. So it's easier if you start painting the elements that are underneath first and then moving upwards. Makes it everything easier. And it's just like here on the horns, I'm going to say the same as Charles. You can first of all, you need to clean your mold lines, because that is catching on the mold line here. And then you need to go darker with the this glazing here. You want to do it with kind of a gray, That's fine with me. Also works very well. Let's make it a bit larger. There you go. Should be enough. You have to glaze more of that till you have pure black at the tip. Same for here. There you go. And then you can do your highlights with this. Oops, we need to change your brush again. Way. Super fun. So something like this. There you go. Here on this greenish bluish bits, they do need more highlights. I feel like you can take something like a pale teal color and just do some final highlights super quick. You need more than this. More opacity. Just a bit more. They can be harsh, it doesn't really matter. Same for this guy on the back. That's a bit more highlights on the cloak. Looks a bit flat. You know what I'm talking about. Especially if you're going to use them for a tabletop. You can see from a distance they really make them stand out and be a bit more attractive, just like that. But what I will 100% do is get some pigments and rub them into the boots here, something like this, or a wash of brown, like an opaque brown. You don't want something like contrast. You want something like this, like Steel Legion drop or something, and you have to thin it down. Let me see. And just run this as a wash into the recesses of the boots here, like they feel muddy and all of that. It's Nurgle, you know. It should feel disgusting. You can do the same for the feet here. Dirty them down with that dirty wash and stuff like that, just to make them feel like more integrated into the bases, basically. But it's really hard to give feedback on tabletop like fast spin painted minis, because they are what they are, and they are really looking pretty good for speed painting minis. So great job, Chelsea. Just add a bit more of weathering. I feel like they need more weathering. You can even go more aggressive onto the rust game here. You can go pretty nuts with the rusts. Take something like Scrag Brown. You just run it into the crevices, into the holes, like here, and just lean on that rust a lot. Because if you don't do that with Nurgle, you're not going to do it with anything. I think that's a bit of the fun of painting Nurgle, is that you can go nuts with weathering everything up to extremes. Something like that. There you go. Super easy to do. Kind of feels better to me. You kind of did something like this here, but just more of it. Just go nuts. Something like that. Yeah. You can even go further and take some very light orange, something like Troll's Layer orange, and just do more of that into the very deepest recesses there. Something like that. Super bright rust, like a wash, super thin wash, but you know, like that. Something like this. So for example, here you can guess water would accumulate more down here. Same for here, the pits and so on. So yeah, I think they need a bit more weathering, and a bit more integration with the bases. I think they're going to look awesome. And if you want to add some highlights, especially on this kind of flat green cloths, I think that would be a good idea as well. So thank you for your submission. I'm really looking forward for the next one. I hope it's something that is not speed painted, just because you can do awesome stuff. And it's going to move into the last entry, which is Chris. And Chris is painting Nurgle too. Oh, in the same background. I guess if these two people have something in common. Oops. Yes, they do, of course. Lovely couple, both patrons and amazing people. And he has this. I think it's a plague caster. I think that he called it. And I'm going to say basically the same here. I want more weathering, especially here. Look at the lower section of the cloth here. I know the base is not done, but just take a brown. Let's take a brown, like a dusty brown if you're going to do a dusty base, and just put this on the bottom like crazy. Just glaze it down, make a wash of this, make this feel ragged and like it's been dragging onto the mud or into the dust for a while. Something like that. There you go. Something like that. And if it's going to be muddy, then you can take something like Rhinox hide and do some mud stains, something like this. It's pretty cool. Because, you know, of course, mud, when it's fresh, it's darker than when it's dried and more saturated. So you want something like this. Like it's been dragging that for a while. You can add so much more tonal variety onto the armor. So taking something like a kind of military green kind of hue. I like to use, I think I've used a crit camo in the past, if you watch my Death God video, and just add a bit more tones to the armor. You can add some drips, you can add some stains, you can run it into the recesses, all that lovely stuff. As well as the browns that you're using. So this kind of disgusting vomit browns. You can take something like a bit more. Yeah, something like this feels more disgusting. And you can keep on building this. Add more of this, more pitting, more texture, more disgustingness. And said to Chelsea, you can go nuts with the rust here. Just turn the something like scrap brown into a wash and run it onto the recesses of the metallic bits. Something like this. Just a lot of it. And move into the orange and do the same. More of this, more of everything, basically. All of the weathering, just turn it up to 11, basically. And finish the base, please. This is not painted, is it? Maybe it is. Maybe it is painted. But I think it needs a bit more. If it's painted, it needs more paint. It needs more painting. You can also take something like Nihilak Oxide or Cyberite Green and use it to weather this copper. Something. You can go subtle here because you have already a lot of weathering, but just run it slightly into the recesses. Just like that. Nurgle loves this. It's like this minis lend so well to just go mad with the weathering here, that I feel like it's a bit of a missed opportunity if you don't. Something like that. So add more of it, more visual interest, more weathering. And you can always add more highlights, but I'm trying to give a different feedback this time. So with Chris done, this is it. lovely submission. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Chelsea, Charles, Marcus, Andy B, Carlos, Paul, Antonio, Team, Anton, and Amin for your submissions. And I think we can move into the saying goodbyes and reading the chat. So thank you all for being here. Nice graph we have, nice spectators, solid views. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you all that have submitted an entry, and also the people that haven't. Let's see if we have some interesting comments, which I'm sure that we do. Oh, Marcus is happy with the review. What's Marcus's? I always. Oh, well, he was talking about the others. Sorry if I'm a bit silent, just going through into the comments and can't do the two things at the same time. I'm incapable of doing that. Pretty good job on the skin. Yeah, the skin on the ogre was bonkers. And as well as these bonkers for speed painting from Tim. Oh, Tim is there, yeah. So Tim saw the feedback just in time. Yeah, Tim says he was his mini was the undead guy, the undead flying with the amazing NMM, and he says I need some time to digest this. There are some advanced reflections for sure. Yeah, this is like the next level. So if you want to take that NMM amazing work you're doing to the next level, you need to think about everything that's around it and add it into there, and it's going to be amazing. But you can do it. I know you can do it. Oh, Chelsea's suggesting painted hair chest or tattoos, which is what I suggested later on. Yeah. Yeah, Chelsea said that on the Game of Thrones mini, it doesn't look like a very good mini. It isn't a good mini. Those minis are awful, awful minis. Super bad casting. The quality is absolutely terrible. Okay, let's see more of the purple armor. Oh, it's pigment powder, yeah. It's talking about the elves. Okay, so I don't see any questions. Someone is wishing me Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everyone, by the way. It's the first live stream of 2022. Let's hope this year goes a bit better. Okay, so it seems like there are no questions in the chat. Sorry about this, me reading through them, but I have to do that. Thank you all that have submitted something. If you want to take part on the next review, which will be next month, you have to join my Patreon or become a channel member, level Minatimes or above. There you will see the instructions for each month. They are always the same, so just send the email to me and it will get there. And that will also grant you access to the Discord, which is an amazing place to be, full of lovely people that you can see in the chat. All very positive and an amazing place to be. So thank you all of you that have been here. Thank you all of my patrons and channel members for the amazing submissions and the great times that he gave me, and obviously the amazing support. And again, next week I'm hoping to release a couple of videos on maybe one tomorrow, maybe one tomorrow if I can edit it tonight, and wait for Giants Are. It's going to be Elder Month for a couple of months, I'm guessing, with all the releases. So I hope you like elves, because there are going to be a lot of elves in the future of the channel. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one, guys. Bye.